Greetings and welcome to Matrix Unlocked presentation 35. It's been a very interesting day. I listened to the latest a profound Vanna vlog, and 1 hour and 11 minutes into the 2.5 hours, from his words, he had generated 19 responses from myself. It was in the words. Hi, I am human. Hi, Alison Marie. I am really going to try and keep up with these comments today. So 19 comments in 1 hour and 11 minutes. So in geometric and numeric terms, you have 1, 1, and you also have 1 and 9 in the 19. It was actually 20 because there was another. And it is mind-blowing because that's where the whole universe is. Very difficult question. What is my occupation? I had to think about that, because what does occupy my time? Quite a lot. So I thought, how do I describe this? And there is only one term. Universe, you could say. And it's baby steps. It's not an actor in the Hollywood sense at all. It is still doing work at the moment, because I don't expect to be paid. And I'm not talking about the cinema. It's a happy hat day as well. That's because I'm continually looking for the answers. You could say that talking of which, I got a wonderful present today. I went out to put stuff in the freezer. Oh dear, it's buffering. Oh, that's a shame. Hopefully the connection will sort of sort itself out. And warning at this end. Anyway, today I was given this gift, laying on the lawn. Beautiful feather. I keep them. They're gifts. We have many of them, many jars full of them now. Flight. And sometimes in them a friend request, something will tell me, and I say, tell me about the feathers that you found. There was a case where the reply was, I haven't found any feathers, but I think there's. I can't help but this Egyptian idea of the weighing those feathers and spend them wisely when the time comes. I would suggest maybe 1 feather for 1 soul. Who knows how many more are we going to get? Or maybe we just make a headpiece with them, like a dream catcher of things, the spirit in the wind. But all as an actor, I'm also, can't say I'm writing them because they're all up here. But I'm forming my own scripts, also where I'm sparking off what other people say. And hopefully in turn, things I say, people will spark off what I say, and we keep this chain link going. You could say also, I am a fisher, but I don't really go fishing. I tend to go with the flow and be put into contact with the people of the same soul family and on the same path. And it just seems to happen that way. It's far better than going out and trying to trap in a net, for example, and hooking people. It's got to be of people's own free will every time. So yeah, I could claim all sorts of occupations: cook, carer, alchemist. The way I do the cooking, it's all intuition. It's add a bit of this, add a bit of that, no measuring. It's all guesswork. Even the recipes themselves, it's just throws together basically, and they seem to come out okay. Fortunately. No, don't swim with the mass. The saying about Jesus saying to the Essenes, well, what are the Essenes? That's the energy sense. And that saying about children should be seen and not heard. I would suggest it is children, as in those that are not spiritually grown, should be Essene and not part of the herd. It is important to remain sovereign to yourself. I'll tell you something that is true, and you can decide for yourselves if you think it is coincidence. But my father was of this body, was born on the 25th of December in 1930. Now, his mother's name was Mary, and his father was a carpenter. So what does that make me? Still, we march on. But what I will say, if someone says, "Who are you?" I will say, "I am what I am." And I can say the same of you, because I see your energy, I see your light. Regardless of whether in a male or a female body, you're all lights. But the beauty of being an actor that is forming their own scripts. I am my own producer. I've seen I want behind me. Yes, only dead fish swim low of the banks. If you have your oars docked by a docked oar, and you are not in control in yourself, you're also another passage that is oft quoted. They're all actors and actresses as well. They're all playing a part. Everybody is an actor or an actress. It's just up to you. You have that choice whether you want to take a star role. And you can read any of that you want to give yourself center stage. I mean, this is all within each of our own little worlds. Collectively, hi Rue, hi CJ Wall, and hi Rudy, hi Mies Gleason. I am going to try and keep up with these comments before they disappear. When I say I am, it's not ego, because I'm just a reflection of you. That saying about if you look down upon me, I am a fool, but then I am aloof because I won't be tied down and I won't follow the herd. If you look up to me, then I'm a god. But I would rather you met me face to face, eye to eye, and we see each other in each other. It's as simple as that. Just catching up with the comments. Good evening, DJ Harden. This was a little bit later than originally planned. It was supposed to be an hour ago, but for some reason, my mother decided she'd stay in the kitchen and clatter about. And it's like, I want to do a video. But it's like calm. Gives me a chance to think about what I want to say. So yeah, just embrace what you feel is right for you, I would say. Keep asking questions, and then you are as king. But I'm not falling for any silly stories. Even with my limited carpentry skills, I'm sure I could put together a crib no mangy manger would be needed. But that's a little bit ridiculous the way that story has been. Mamacy, that's it. Another very interesting channel. I happened to, on a recommendation, I watched the video UAP channel, the latest video, and it's very interesting, very revealing, looking at and counting the bricks, because even with the modern technology of today and the output per year of bricks, and then you look around at some of these massive structures that were, there is no way that those bricks could be built, could have been manufactured in the time scale that is given. But I went a bit stage further and I looked at the word brick as well. Now the I, which is not ego, the I is a third eye, but it is also represented as a glyph in the alphabet. And it's what's attached to it that's important. So a B is like two eyes looking out, seeing upper and lower. Once you understand the shape of the B, you might say, ah, I see. Then you have another pole, and you've got two diagonal lines coming off of it. There's the K. You can go one of two ways with that. You're being expected to pick a side, but so there's your BRICK, brick. Where are we? Catch up. Hi, Niven. I nearly missed you there. The comments are sort of scrolling up, and then I happen to see two people saying hello to you, so that's good. Yeah, it's fascinating how all this all fits together. I seem to a bit deflated because I was bursting with so much information earlier, and it's sort of filtered, dissipated in a way. But there was something else I was going to talk about with this as well. Oh, you're welcome, Mystic Mamacy. I just feel like I'm going to explode when I get these downloads and things come. And that was the other thing, the word conquer. Well, there's two ways of spelling that, and it sounds very similar. Now, if you concur, in other words, if you are like-minded, I don't like the word agree because it's too much like agreed. But when we have a mutual understanding, then we concur rather than conquer. The only thing we need to conquer is ourselves. Hi, Niven. Wattage, yes, that is exactly what we are really. But our energy has been arced, and it is a con. The archons, they go by many names. As I said before, I don't know if we'll ever see them in their true form. They seem to be interdimensional. It is. I don't claim that this is anything special. It's sort of something. It started off with words where, oh, that's a strange coincidence. You've got there for said the same way, but the slightly different letters, different vowels, and then first two or three, oh, it's coincidence. This is what I was thinking at the time, and then more and more starts to come, and it's no, hang on a minute, this is not looking like a coincidence, and then there's no stopping it. It's one of those things. Once you see it, you can't unsee it, or you can't unhear it, and any of you could say one word in this live chat and it's like bang, something just clicks. It just all falls into place just from just one word. Where are we? Not at all, Rudy. Um, it's not about how professional the channel is, whether you've got fancy music. I mean, I've watched a lot I've seen a lot of truth-seeking YouTube presentations over the year, and you get this wonderful build-up with this very professional music, and then it goes to a live broadcast in a hall, and the sound's all echoey, and it's a disaster, and it's almost like an anticlimax. It's what you're saying from the heart. That's the most important thing. Everything else is a judgment we make on it, I'd say. Just catching up with your comments. Yeah, I've got, I think it's 525 subscribers. It's 2 months ago it was about 300, but I like the way this is building up slowly, and I only want this to be a link in the chain anyway. If you put me on a pedestal with 25,000 subscribers or whatever, then I start becoming a target. But hey, we're here to have fun. We're having a giraffe, a laugh. It's a sort of Cockney rhyme thing. You're having a giraffe. But when you think of what the giraffe does, it sticks its neck out anyway, and it's also in contact with Earth. So it's a wonderful symbolic animal. London Zoo, when you see an 18-foot tall male giraffe just sort of swagger like it is king, that is so majestic up close. Wouldn't want to get too close because they have got a nasty kick. But hopefully, like most animals, they can tell who's good and who's bad. They have a sense. Dogs and cats, no. Cats just do their own thing anyway. They are the wisdom, whereas the dog is the unconditional love. It's the wolf that grown and learned fear. It's unconditional love with the dog. I am an animal lover. I don't have a dog or a cat. I've got the birds. So see, this is the problem. If I had a cat, then the birds aren't going to be too happy because cats aren't renowned for being bird lovers, apart from as a meal mostly. Even if they get fed other food, they're still, it's their instinct to go hunting. So it's always a balance, and I like the idea of the blackbirds. There was 4 pairs. There's the robins, the blue tits, and things as well. Up close giraffes, well, they are. Yeah, giraffes have always been a favourite. I've always said that if I ever see the post on Facebook, giraffes on extinct, then I will press that button because it will certainly trigger me. That will be the yardstick by which I would make a judgment on everything, to be honest, because that's a step too far. What kind of birds? Blue tits, coal tits. There's been finches here occasionally. What else is there? Magpies, seagulls, blackbirds and robins are the resident birds, really. Sparrows, they've come back as well. Trying to think. Oh, there has been a woodpecker as well. These half coconut shells with the sort of fat balls in them. They seem to really like those. So they get fed. And then there's the squirrel as well. It's almost resident squirrel. I've named it Nut Job because it's always running up and down. It's always got like a walnut or something it's got from somewhere. I've seen a frog since I've redone the pond. Then, of course, the dragonflies as well, the flying dragons, and an abundance of butterflies when the weather's warmer. Yeah, it's all sorts. It's thriving. It's wonderful. Hopefully that some of the energy I radiate out is also helping, because we're magnetic energy anyway. So it's not just attracting human soul family. I mean, a lot of you have probably got pets, and you've got an affinity and a connection with a particular animal. Seeing buzzards frequently. Wow. I might do if we didn't have all those clouds. But hey, Victorian Industrial Revolution smog was last time rounds, chemtrailing, as it were. It's a smoke screen. It's nothing new. It's just understand what it is, see what it is, see it's a repeat pattern, and don't give in to the fear. Laugh at the fear. Fear no evil. I've had some comments today, talking about Jesus and repenting, and sorry, no, that's got too many religious overtones to it. I see the religion aspect as a twist on a basis of truth, but everything seems to be within the universe within. So every character, every mythological character, every deity is an aspect of within us anyway. We just got to get our own house in order inside. We have to go within to do that and explore every avenue. I think it was David Icke said, start with a blank piece of paper. If you try and wrap things around what you think you know already, then it won't make sense. And it is a period I found of unlearning, and Nicole, the woman that speaks for the man, well, the two hemispheres of the brain, as long as we keep that link, because it's going to be where the eye is, and that will guide us. We'll be able to weigh up the two halves. See, we have all this inside the scales. That's a shame. The problem is, what is it the birds? Is it an effect of their environment has been destroyed and they're looking for new areas to go, so they're pushing out other birds? Carbon copy world. But do we interfere with it? Do we rescue the bird that's fell out the nest? It's a difficult one. It was put very well. Probably one of the best bits of acting, I think, in the Doctor Who with Tom Baker, where he's holding these two wires. I think it's called Genesis of the Daleks, and he's Daleks before they've been created and these awful monsters. But then he says, but by doing this, there are people who wouldn't have become friends, worlds that would never become friends. So it's a hell of a weight of responsibility to do something like that. And I think that's something we have to keep in mind with this, our interaction with nature. I question myself all the time, and could I have done this better? Could I have said this better? It's an ongoing process. It's not just do it once and it's all going to be all right. I'm under no illusions of that. I'm still searching, I'm still seeking, and I will continue to do so. Catch up with the comments again. Sus is very interesting. Mentioned that yesterday, the sus. When you suss something out, when you work it out, well, that's your caduceus, and you are between the two caduceus. Again, it's within. That's another prime example. Hi, Alison. It's another prime example of looking at these individual letter shapes. It's in Matrix Unlocked, presentation number 2, which I did at the start of October. I must put these ones in a playlist. That's going to be the next thing I do, make it a bit easier. But yeah, this thing with these bricks, that's incredible. The bricks and the mortar and the cement, there's something in that for definite, and it's a big clue. I feel it is important to look back and keep exploring the past to find how to break this cycle. And one way you could say of doing it would be, if we are in this geometric 3-dimensional world between 1 and 9, we need to add something to it, a 10, R10, the light. Shine a light on it. Arton is the representation of the sun, but it's another twisted story, because that wasn't the only deity. Egyptology is very much a Disneyland of archaeology, really, the way it's portrayed. Wise Up channel, I will recommend again. The Sphinx. You don't often see a top view of the head. It is completely flat, and there's a circular bit. And then on this broken nose, you can clearly, as he points out, it looks like a giant spear. Like this thing was once living, and something has thrust a spear down, and it's gone through the nose, and it's hollow inside, like a nasal cavity. And you do start to wonder about some of these things when you see all these ancient depictions, these lithographs of these strange creatures that we are told are myth. You start, well, I'd like to think I have an open mind to not say, oh no, that's not real. I don't know how real these lithographs are, but I'm not going to dismiss them out of hand. Where are we? Yes, we're all bricks in the wall. Well, I don't particularly want to end up as a pillar of the community. I mean, it's often half jokingly said about, if you cross the mafia, you end up with concrete boots at the base of a motorway flyover. Well, it's probably just one of those projections of telling the truth, but implying it is on an isolated section, this criminal section called the mafia. But what if it's a part of a bigger picture with all this? I mean, human bodies full of all these toxins. Do you really want to put them in Earth? Or could you find a better use for them? What is in the box that comes back in a Hercules? As I've said before, it's wrapped in a red, white, and blue, and it comes in an Hercules in plain sight in front of everybody. But marine life is polluted. Could it be organ parts? Could it be opium from Afghanistan? All being transported right under everybody's noses. Let's face it, the sophistication of technology today, you can't tell me that the Italian police could not have eliminated the mafia by now, unless they are part of a game that's being played on us to give the illusion of an us and them again. Because it all seems to tie in. I mean, do you buy things on eBay? And do you pay by PayPal? PayPal, see? all roads lead to Rome. So they know what you're buying, and they're taking a little slice for themselves all the time. Every time you use PayPal, see? It's not even a carefully hidden name. And you have the papal state of Rome. So the PP on that invoice And of course, it's all ego. It's all about trying to lure you in to get that one last thing to complete your collection, or that limited edition thing you've always wanted and never had the chance to buy at the time, but now somebody has it for sale. Weird Al Yankovic, the eBay song comes to mind. I really wanted that secondhand snow globe. Yeah, right. And I've got to pay the postage and everything as well. And do I really want it? I fell for it in the past. Yeah, I've seen some of this footage about the Globe Light Tour being harassed. It's obviously making waves. Good luck to them. Good on them for doing it. This awareness, because it's not so much about the shape of the Earth. It's more to do with it gets people questioning, and it opens doors to so many other things that look to be an agreed lie, what we call history or his story. And again, it's you look at these old buildings and you think, that was built just to take letters into and have stamps put on them. Or that 50-foot high ceiling with polished marble columns and a nice marble floor is for me to stand on while I wait to catch a train. You look at St Pancras in London with Gothic architecture and the sheer scale of it. I mean, what does the average man? How many bricks can a bricklayer lay in a day? I'm not suggesting anybody counts the bricks. There's rather a lot. I wouldn't even want to speculate. But then you have to ask about the sheer numbers of bricks and the universal conformity of these bricks. So what we taking clay around everywhere, all around the world, or is it all natural to every part of the world that they can all make pretty similar bricks? It's these sort of questions that then lead on. And don't forget how they've taken things to a whole new level, because what about those 2 or 3 floors below ground on these buildings that you no longer see that are also brick? You got to add those in the equation, not just what you see above, because as above, so below, it would seem, even when the architecture. That just came to me, archon, architecture. It's always arches as well on these cathedrals and things. These words have so many connotations, and they are connotations. That one just sort of came as saying it as well. It's yeah, Italy has a lot to sort of answer for. Eye ties are also known as, rather interestingly. And of course, you have Rome, but where are we roaming to? Another interesting word that has come to me, thinking of Medusa. People are turned to rock. They're petrified, well, scared to death, petrified, turned into a mud fossil. Petrified has 2 meanings to it. It's Petra, it's Peter. Could be Jupiter, which is next to Saturn. There was something about that as well. Oh yes, the stepfather, Joseph, which is derived from Set, S-E-T-T, and the sun sets as well. Square and compass, yes. Architecture, yes, very good. Yes, I missed that one completely. This is how it works, sparking off each other, because I might say something and then you hear it and then break it down. It's fantastic the way this works. I love this connection we have between us like this. Assets, yes. Interesting one, assets, because you've got ass at them as well. So are they making an ass out of us? Are they trying to palm us off with a Palm Sunday? Archaeology, keep them coming. This is good. Sounding walls, but there's also a wailing wall as well. You too can be a dipping bird and almost bash your head against a brick wall. You keep on knocking, but you can't come in. Rather bizarre things people do like that, I think. Yes, adding text. Oh, brilliant! Adding texture to an arc. Well, oh, never. That's priceless. That's brilliant. That really is. Carry on. I ought to sit here. I ought to take a break, and you're all doing brilliant. This is so wonderful to see how so many people are now starting to get this with the words and things. I can't claim to be an original at this at all by any means. It was probably through listening to Jordan Maxwell, amongst others, and it just comes together. It is a case of once you see it, you can't unsee it with any of this from any aspect of it. It is so incredible. But the thing is, it's now working towards. Between us, we've got all the answers anyway. Okay, we may not have the finer points to it all, but we've got the basic understanding of all of this between us. We all hold keys. I mean, with this 97% dormant DNA, it's capped off for a reason. It's starting to unlock increasingly. I have suggested that we have, as much as anything else, it's based on the geometry of having all-round vision, that we should have 360 senses. I can't define what those senses are. I would suggest they're like our nervous system and like tree roots where they branch out. So something that starts off as sight in the 3D sense becomes second sight, and then a whole new type of seeing colours not of this earth, hearing things that are outside the human range, and so on. Sensing something. Well, how are we sensing it? It's not by touch, it's not by taste, it's not by smell. Although saying that last night reminds me, I got a very strong scent suddenly of lavender. I thought there's a nice spirit or something is here. There was no sensing of evil with it, but there's just a very strong scent of almost like lavender, I think it was. And then it went again as quick, probably under a minute, but it's coming. The senses are widening. Our spectrum is getting greater. Yeah, those things in the heavens. That. Thank you, Roo, because that reminded me of another bit. When you look at a pond, the still waters, you get a reflection. What about the waters above? Are they just reflecting back? Because isn't awakening and truth seeking about sending out love and reflecting and radiating? So are we not the stars on this solid plane? And you have stars above as well. As above, so below. Maybe we're in the below. I mean, you've got Bell, below, Bell, O. Do we owe Baal? We need to rise above, change this. Water does have memory, also by extension of that, so does wood, timber, because trees work on tension, they draw water up, it is ingrained. So even from timber, you can get a spiritual upload. It still holds memory. Don't tell the whispering grass because the trees don't need to know. I think was the line from the song. And again, look at which one was it? Lord of the Rings with the trees. Take a very long time to come to a decision. It was hilarious in that film. It says, "We have had our meeting and we have decided you are not orcs." And they're like this sense of urgency. Come on, and they take their time with trees because trees have a much greater lifespan. I think that's a fantastic moment, but it's also hinting at nature is on our side, and I don't think we have to face this a lot alone. People are very focused on thinking only in terms of humans, but what about the animals? What about the insects? What about the birds? It seemed to me last summer as if nature went into an overdrive of full bloom, like it was saying, "Look, we need your help." So I interpret that as we are here as much as anything else to help and heal Mother Earth and all the other life on it. And we, in some ways, we're earth angels and we stand between protecting everything else. I can't think of a better way of being in the front line for something as pure and noble as that. I think that's a wonderful idea. I'm all for that. Yes, Mies Gleason, the trees, the grounding. I mean, all these terms, electrical terms. And we've got two souls on the bottom of our feet. That's two of our sort of three souls, you could say. I'm still in two minds whether to class the pituitary gland as a fourth eye or a fourth ear, or I don't know. it's 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 something. The pituitary gland and the pineal gland, the two. There is, you can apply everything in numbers to us as well. We are one. We are two hemispheres. We've got a third eye. We've got, well, four is a representation of divine masculine. Three is a representation of divine feminine. We have five senses. People refer to our sixth sense. There is a seventh heaven. Things can be innate and they can be benign. Yes. Well, one particular case I can think of, I was in Ohio and it was like a spiritual gathering, and there's this whoosh high up in the trees, this wind sound, but nothing else moved, and it was like something was moving through the tree branches and then went on to another tree and then just disappeared, like something was then leaving at the end of this sort of coming together of these people. It was a wonderful experience. And that's another word I was thinking about earlier. You've got this word loosh, which is this energy vampire. It's sort of the opposite of whoosh. The W has been taken away and replaced by an L. So it becomes a loosh, this energy feeding upon us. And That sounds wonderful. A block of marble and running water on it. That's something. Just something feels right about doing something like that. Um, it's incredible. Malignant, yes. You can. Yes, that's very true. I spend most of my time barefoot, to be honest. Um, I think I've worn socks probably twice this year. um, Even in the snow, I haven't got socks on. It doesn't. I'm not keen on cold, but that doesn't affect me. So that's so yeah. I just wear Crocs when I go out. The crocodile to go with the Gandalf Dundee bit. You see, I must roll a cigarette. That's fantastic, Liddy. Yeah, talk to the gems as well. There's another word. If you end up going to court, well, what about courts? Quartz crystal as opposed to tennis courts or law courts. Um, it's almost like they've taken the word and twisted even that one, changed it from like quartz crystal to law courts. Well, yeah, I don't know about Crocs. That's another strange thing. I don't know if you've thought about this. When you see these Sumerian cylinder seals, you've got these Anunnaki, and they're sort of men with basically human looking, but with these almost like braided beards. And then you move into Phoenicia, and they're similar. But then you've got this other distinct group, Adventure Diva High. You've got this distinct group of non-human looking ones. You've got that bird-headed one with it's holding up what like a pine cone or pineal gland. And what's in the goddamn bag? And it's like, well, we often hear talk of reptilians and things as well, and then there's also the inner part, the fight or flight part of us as well. It's fascinating because I wouldn't rule it all off as either good or bad, because but then you've also got the dark aspect. Now, do we aspire, because that has an asp at the front of it, or do we inspire? I think these words have got so many. We are definitely casting spells when we create vocal sounds and use these words. It seems clear to me that this whole alphabet is the language of a darkness, particularly with English, the angel leash. And of course, that's the language that has been pushed and promoted the most around the world. Something else with these colonies. With a colony, it's a hive mentality. But from a colony, you have a kernel, a colonial. But the other spelling of it is a kernel, like a seed. And if you think about the tree seed or a seed of any plant or tree, within that kernel is a hard drive that has got all the instructions for that seed to grow. So don't buy seedless grapes, don't buy seedless anything that's genetically modified. If they're meant to have seeds in, they should have seeds in. But when you imagine that a tree starts off as this tiny little seed, and all that is encoded in that kernel, not a colonial, but a kernel. See, they've took that word and changed it. They've cursed the kernel and turned it into a colonial. Colon I ol. Yes, the apricot. I think, was it vitamin B17? I can't remember now. But yeah, it's amazing. That as part of this journey, picking up all these little bits and pieces on different foods and things without doing a dedicated sort of intense study just on that. I tend to go with what my body tells me. I don't know if any of you have actually done it where you've been out for a meal and you think, oh, that was nice, I could eat that again. But there's this 20-minute delay for the signal to come up to the brain. The body already knows it, like no more food, and it sends that signal up. So by the time you got that second plate load put in front of you, you'll go, oh, I don't want this now, because the signal has now registered. And that's something else definitely to develop as best you can. Listen to your body warning you. It's your early warning system. It's a wonderful thing. If you get a cold or flu, get your temperature up to 102 Fahrenheit. Put on layers and layers of coats. Doesn't matter how uncomfortable it is, you will sweat. And I would even go so far to say that flu and cold viruses are all chemically produced in the same way that they do this today. And they've always done this. The vague plague, again, comes to mind. The Black Death. I mean, it's funny it's called the Black Death, and then you have Black's Law controlling everything. So the clues are always in these names every time. Right. Do I think it is possible for infinite light beings? Yes, I do. As I said the other day, if by doing healing and channeling an energy source and then directing it, and it's almost like a replication of what the arteries are doing with these transition metals, they're depositing them around the body. So we're doing like a scaled up version of that. And of course, it's freely given. It's not coming from within me as such. It's channeling through me, and anybody else that does healing, it goes through them. And you're then sending it out. With me, it's freely given. I'm not going to knock anybody that does charge, because if they have to survive in this 3D world and that's their niche, and they're calling to do that, then I'm not going to knock them for charging. But it's each to their own. I don't think there's a right or wrong exactly with that. But yes, I think these light beams could definitely come through. I think they do. It's whether our perception is open enough to see them, probably. It's like orbs as well. That was another word that came to me. I was thinking of an orb, an orbit, orb information technology, for example, the IT. You notice with the orb as well, it's a round ball, but it's got a cross on it. It's a symbol of Earth in many ways, and it's got that cross or crown thing on top as well. So it's almost like we're at the top of this. Yes, the power of intent. Fever has a meaning, yes. Well, I'm going to break that down. Fever. So the F is an imperfect E, E for energy. So it's missing the lower stalk on the letter F. So it's a corrupted energy. V is 5. I think can work out what that stands for, and that leaves ER. So energy of Ra, R. It's an attack on our light, I would take from that. It's a virus, so it's a sort of, what's the best way to describe it? A chemical parasite, really, because a virus will mutate. So in a way, that doesn't have a definite form. If it will keep changing. I have actually seen a flu virus once, no, twice. It was how do I describe it? It was dancing almost like a spider in the air, black. And my first reaction was, keep away. But it got me. And by that evening of that particular day, because this is about lunchtime, by that evening, I was in bed, all shivering and feeling like crap. It got me. That's the nearest thing I can. They look like weird. Some of these things. Refer. Talking of which, trying to keep up with the comments. Yeah, depends what you really. It depends what you're classing as drugs. If you're in control of it, then it's not a problem. It's when it becomes an insatiable greed, with anything really. How did I see it? It was. It just sort of appeared. How long it had been there before I saw it, I don't know. It's not like it seemed to come through. It seemed to just be dancing in the air and looking for the next victim, and it happened to be me. That teach me for going in cafes when I was younger and having all day breakfast, I suppose. Yeah, I don't know what maybe sort of that came back into my mind, because that's like 30 odd years ago. This is the thing with this awakening. You've got the 2012, and then when I got the chest pains and thinking, this is it, I'm having a heart attack. But it's being a very slow, ongoing process since before day one, because of remembering being in the womb as well. It's a pink void is the best way I can describe it. And the thinking at the time was, I like it here. I'm quite happy here in this single cell apartment, as it were. And it was a contented feeling. It's funny as well how, which I think shows there is a universal language. If you have memories going back before the age of 3, before you've learned to speak the language, but in your mind you're already thinking in something. When you think back, you hear it in the language that you're speaking. So I think it is a universal language. I spoke to a few people over the years who also have got very early memories, and they're of the same opinion on this one. Yeah, the smoking. Well, it could be argued about. I mean, dragons and things are associated with fire breathing. There's that aspect to it, because I don't see dragons necessarily as being evil. I believe there are good and evil with everything, and of course, if darkness is deception, it will always appear as the opposite. That's how they worm their way in. It's the classic textbook narcissist approach of appear good and something that you want, and then when it thinks it has control, the disguise comes away. They unmask themselves. They show their true colours. It's the same with comments and things. Just remain polite and say thank you to them, and they'll either get even more angry with you, or they will just, it's all on public display, and other people will see it by their own actions and their own words. If they read the dialogue properly, it will become clear, and that's how we defeat and the dark side especially, and their insatiable greed will be their undoing. You think of it like in the Dracula films. If Dracula went around biting everybody and turning a certain number into vampires, there would come a finite point where they would outstrip their food supply, and that is the problem with greed. It's the snake eating its own tail. It's circular reasoning. Yeah, I haven't stopped smoking for. I have done it before now, but try and go down the sort of healthy route. The 3D body parts, I think, or the three-dimensional aspect has a part to play in all of this anyway. He says smoking, but I mean, I don't agree that smoking tobacco is a problem. It's the additives to the tobacco that are the problem, possibly the filters. I mean, I've gone for these raw filters, which are basically like cardboard in a booklet. But then I'm also wary of the fact that the word is war backwards and it's in red. So I thought I'll try these for a while rather than the other sort of little white filters, and just so go with intuition on it really. But again, I'm not going to advocate something unless I try it on myself. I'm not going to say, oh, try this if I haven't done it. It's like fasting. I subconsciously started doing it without realizing it, and the first time was 18 hours, and yeah, you do feel better for it. It's not. I mean, when I the first time I'd sort of heard about fasting, or when I've heard about fasting, you think of hunger strikes in prison, and it's not like that at all. It is controlled 8 hours of taking in nutrients, and then 16 hours of not and going that way. Some people have said they've ended up with massive headaches, probably dehydration, not getting enough liquid in. A 3-day one is that I wouldn't personally jump in even on a 3-day. I would try, say, just doing 12 hours. But I can see the sense of it. It's like a reset. It rests the intestines and gives them a break. And the body isn't going to die. It's got plenty of reserves, and it's like a spring clean, really. I think it's bug bites and bee stings for tobacco. That's interesting. Yes, onion is brilliant. Also, that's another thing. If you get cold or flu, it sounded a weird thing to do, but I thought we'll give it a try. A slice of raw onion, and then I then got tissue paper and wrapped it around my foot, and then put sellotape over it and then put a sock on it. It feels a bit uncomfortable, and you get the idea that the whole bedroom is going to smell like a casserole. But the onion is working in reverse. It's drawing out the virus. So you don't get that awful, apart from when you first chop the onion and take a slice of it, you don't get that pungent onion smell wafting all around the bedroom. And I can testify to that. I've done it myself, and it does work. That's brilliant. Crocheting is that, yeah, not something I've ever done, but I would imagine that could be quite therapeutic to do, and also use your imagination, I think, with the colors and things you use as well. Yeah, that's excellent advice. That's the trouble with the addictive drugs and things. Again, it's like narcissist tactics. It appears good to start with. I made the mistake of having the sort of fake substitutes for weed. And yeah, to start with, it cleared up the chest pains. I was at the cinema with the children and like this, and I'm thinking, how am I going? I'm going to get them, put them in the taxi to get them home. I can't really do that either. Fortunately, it had calmed down enough by the end of the film, and as soon as I got back, it's like roll one up, and like 95% of the pain was like, oh, it's gone. And initially, it does seem to work like that. That's the trouble with anything. Sometimes something that appears good not always is. I got sent a link to a spaghetti western the other day, and there's a funny line in that where the one guy says there's a bird and it falls out the nest and lands on the ground, and it's not happy and it's making a noise. All of a sudden, this cow comes along and poops on it, so it's now warm, but it's still not happy because it's out of the nest. And this wolf comes along and very gently picks it up and brushes it off, and then eats it, swallows it whole. And the moral of the story is sometimes the people that put you in the shit are not your enemy. I thought that was quite a good one. Maybe that's why I sent the link, but this is the thing they talk about with the archons, and even in the religious deity context, the evil, the Satan, as being deception. And that's something we've always got to watch for, always got to keep asking, because dark will always appear as light, and they will always hide behind masks. If you think about from the conspiracy side of things, who is behind it? It's the Vatican, it's the Jesuits, it's the Zionists, it's the Jews, it's this, it's that. How many names have they got? It's the mysterious sea people, it's archons, it's dementias, it's demons, you name it. You can give them so many names. But it still doesn't really tell us what their original name was. But does it really matter about the names? As long as we can identify and shine a light on these things, or bring them out into the light, they destroy themselves anyway. This is the thing, the devil is in the detail, is the saying, and I think this is the thing that will go into a whirl, and it will start doing this coiling. And if you've got anything like a little boat or something, it's going to just get sucked down and pulled down. And of course, water, it's a flow. Are we going to be sucked down with it? Angst, yes, that's there's some interesting German words as well that cross over into English, and sometimes by going into the German, you can get a greater understanding. For example, the D and the T, the gut, the God, um, the V and the F are interchangeable as well. Trying to think of an example of that one now. There was one there, but it's gone. But you'll come across this if you change the V for an F. It can change the meaning of a word. A surface or a service is the one that's just come to mind. A serf is a sort of underclass of slave, and then you've also got the word serve, the F and the V. That's all that's changed between the two words. That's it, got and gut. And then you've also got the German word for horse, which is Pferde. It's Pferde. So the P precedes the F. It's almost silent. And P is representing very often it's representing pi. Again, it's the line, the I, and then it's half a B. It's only seeing one side of something. That's implying with pi. Just reading the comments again. Yeah, love will conquer. But like I said earlier, conquer. Do we concur? Do we have mutual agreement? This is what it's all about. This is the biggest trick, is getting everybody to look for something higher and more powerful themselves to be subservient to. And that's not the case. It's within each and every one of us. And it's the pulling in the same direction and coming together. You think if we're all lights, if we did all come together, we'd be brighter than the sun. We'd be an awesome light. And I think we can do it. I really do think we can get there. And well, I know we are. We are getting through it. The dark side are crumbling. It's baby steps because we don't want to lose the inner child. Yes, love is to evolve, which they probably turned into the word value or value, which is what they do by selling a fake idea. But if you think about even the term, the big screen, it's something pulled down, and it's a veil. A veil is vile and evil. Just swap the letters, the I and the E round, and it's like shuffling a pack of cards with some of the words. Or my favourite one is, are we present as a present in the presence for the present time? Live is evil, yes. The one thing that there is the most fear of is death. But that word came to me the other day. What is death? And I said this, the DE does represent death of energy, but it's also dia, as in deity. And then you've also got the TH, where you've got thought, thoth, which is the study of God. So it's a way back to source. Maybe it then comes with a judgment and decides, no, you've not done good enough this time. You'll have to go round again. You've not learnt enough. And I've suggested also that not all those on the spiritual or truth-seeking path, it not necessarily be for this time round. It may be for the next time round as well. Spirit wind. And keep your tail feathers so you're in control of the direction you go, of course. But these headdresses as well, are they feathers, or are they representations of fish scales as well? Because there's the marine aspect to us as well. Webbing above and waters below. It's assumed we've come out the sea from that, but what about if we've come down? What if we are the fallen angels? What if we have been falling for an angle and we are actually earth angels, and this is our sort of punishment, and by growing spiritually we get out of this again? Also notice, I mentioned this in a conversation earlier, you have a reference to something in the Bible, this pit called Tartarus, and I cannot help but notice that Tartarus and Tartary are so similar. Tartar is a Tartarian. Yeah, purgatory is another interesting one, because you've got Tor in there, which is a reference to torso, to Tor the bull. You get a Toreador, which is a bullfighter in Spain as well. So there's like a Spanish word which has a meaning in English. It all points towards the bull, which is Taurus. And then, of course, you have the Lamb of God, the ram. Well, that's Aries, Ramses. And then, of course, the two fish, which is Pisces. But hey, we've got to move with the age. This is Aquarius, and we acquire us. We take back our power. That's what it has to be. Excuse me. That's what we're here for, I think, to take back our power, to remove this veil and see what we truly are, which is earth angels. And we are of equal status to anything else. There is something about, I used to go swimming a mile a day at one time. That's 64 lengths in the pool. And I'd dive in and I'd stay under the water, and I'd think, I was trying to think, I'd be about 30. I'd often think to myself, what a great shame that we lose that ability to breathe underwater. It's almost like that's been taken away unnecessarily, because that would be a useful skill to have. You could just go swimming and just automatically switch back to breathing liquid rather than air, because you'd have the oxygen in the water anyway. Probably not a good thing with the way the oceans are, if we're what we're led to believe about. They're all polluted and radioactive anyway. But so maybe that's a good thing. But also this umbilical cord, this cutting of the umbilical cord, and the fact that it is encouraged in hospitals, and it seems almost like too much of an urgency, and that would fall away naturally in nature. It wouldn't be severed, and I think it does sever, causes in the subconscious, if nowhere else, it sets up a feeling of loss, and you've been taken away from Mother Nature, quite literally and figuratively in this particular case. And it sets up this, well, hopefully in as many people as possible, it sets up this wanting to question, to ask why we are here, what we are, what is our purpose. because that is, I think, what we all want to know: where we're from, where we're going. And I'm suggesting that we have the power to decide that to some degree, and we decide how we go about it if we take back our power. Being all revolutionary tonight. Probably did bite it off, but it probably wasn't immediately, because the nutrients and things are still flowing through the cord, and it's cutting it too quickly. So I think there is that's done deliberately in these hospital wards as well. Water is emotion. You have motion in water. Again, we're vessels. We don't want to be rocked. Maybe that's why rock music is so encouraged as well, and maybe it's why it has that term when it is at the wrong broadcast at the wrong frequency, because it's certainly encouraged everywhere. The number of people you see wearing headphones looking like they're part of the Mickey Mouse fan club almost, it's incredible. These great big monstrous earphones. And then of course you see the people with the in-ear ones as well, and I think that can't be good for your hearing, having that thing pushed into your ear that close. Or as in a song by Marillion described it, a halo of distortion, the Walkman. And because it stifled interaction and conversation. It's not just with phones. It's been ongoing from personal radios onwards. It's been a continuous assault, and it's always sold as something good for you, don't forget. And people buy into these ideas. But I have a far more contented life than I've ever had. I don't really have any stress in my life. It's fantastic. I don't have any structure. I thought today was Saturday until quite late on. And it turns out it's Friday. But I don't have this elation of hooray, it's the weekend, and it's Monday either. So it's brilliant. And I can hear people getting stressed on the main road where they're crawling along in traffic, wasting their time, all trying to get from one place to another. And all that is deliberately seems to be done. The traffic light sequencing is set up to frustrate people. And it's almost like the insane thinking of, right, I don't like that artery, I'll restrict the blood flow. But you need that to live. But that seems to be the crazy, insane thinking in this world that we're in, and this very much this not in my backyard attitude to everything. I'm going to protest about these houses being built. Yes, but you're in a house that was built that those people protested about, and yet you all want a roof over your heads. But we could all have roofs over our heads if we took the ground levels back to where they were anyway. And we've got to start digging a bit, I think, in many ways. But I think a lot of this physical evidence of architecture that is left is because it is so damn well built. And the Starfort bases, I mean, 8 foot thick. They're not going to be an easy thing to remove. Especially the one, I believe there's one in Canada, so it's in a frozen area. So that would be a real pain to get out. In the UK, we have these things called pillboxes left over from the Second World War. They're dotted around in all sorts of strange locations on the corner of fields and road junctions, for this potential invasion of the Nazis in the Second World War. And they're a much tougher quality brick. These military grade quality to the concrete and everything, that for the amount of space that you would gain in that field, the cost is prohibitive, and that's why they still stay there. But they probably outlast a lot of buildings because the quality of them is so good. But then I do wonder, these pillboxes, is when were they really built? Again, there's even more brick to take into consideration with that. Alison Martin Leake is the one to talk to about beekeeping, because he's doing that. Um, it'd be definitely a wonderful thing to pursue. I would say if it appeals to you, then go for it. It's a soul memory of something you've probably done before anyway. Honey is supposed to be very close to human blood, anyway, and I mean, think of that term nectar. Nectar of the gods. There's something about honey that has, for want of a better term, it has divine quality or aspects. The color of it's liquid gold. Bone china is another very interesting one. There's a very dubious past to the East India Tea Company, how that was formed and what it got up to. And where do you make tea? Traditionally in finest bone china. Now, where are all the goods coming from? They're always made in China. See, it's another repeat. They're doing it again. It might not be quite the same thing, but they love to put those words in. Because why is it bone china for plates and things, for crockery? And it's also a country name as well. It's another one of these strange, can't say coincidences, but it's an odd combination of the use of the same word with exactly the same spelling. Oh yes, good one, Niven. Nectar. Yeah, we've got tarmac. We've got mortar. In Scotland, you have tatties. So you've got TATA for potatoes. The saying tartar in so many ways. Tartar sauce with fish. It's there's definitely a lot more in this, and a lot more to this. I don't know how many of you noticed with the circular things, I'll very often let into 8 segments. It must be something to do with the symbol of infinity with the 8 going round in loops. Coal tar, yes. There was coal tar soap, or still is coal tar soap, I think, as well. It's a yellow colour with a very distinctive smell. Wright's coal tar soap. It's still got packaging that looks traditional and implies it's a family business, but it's probably part of something like Smith Kline Glaxo or Unilever or one of those. There's a whole new area of research, soap, leading on from deodorants and things. It's a logical step to start trying to find the things that are not going to harm you when you put them on your skin. When you find out that, like, sun creams, oh, you'll get cancer from the sun. No, you'll get cancer from the thing you're putting on that they're telling you is going to. It's amazing once you start unlocking these things. How many guitar? Yeah. Oh, this is fantastic. it's just mind blowing how this there's the Big Bang again, the mind blowing, how all this all comes to get together. Violence as well. Well, are we not wanting to be no violence, benevolence, as opposed to malevolence, male of violence, the patriarch system of inequality, um, the menorah, the men of war, is another one. An inverted dome over the earth, which has now become a candlestick. Organ, yes, cathedrals have an organ with lots of windpipes. We have a windpipe and lots of organs. We create sound, and so does an organ. It's maybe it's we have the power to generate a sound frequency within us as well. If the power of words can change things, then maybe not so much the speech, but the sound. We could do healing from sound. We could move things by sound. I think, if I remember rightly as well, isn't it the Tibetan monks, if they stand in certain precise locations and make a sound, they can move heavy objects? Or I don't know where that's come from. The windpipe, the vocal cords. V is 5, O for total, complete, C all vocal. I'm thinking aloud. Yeah, eardrum, retarded. Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah, tar and treacle. Yeah, and the throat chakra. That's the communication. That's the light blue chakra. Um, that's interesting with sending out the healing, the colours, because if it's to do with communication or a sore throat, it's always shown to me as a light blue. It goes to that area of the recipient who's asked for the healing. If it's kidneys, it's more likely going to be orange or yellow. It's also interesting as well, your colours. Probably if I was connecting to you individually, I could probably describe you how I see you, which will be a human outline, but you'll have colours inside. It's not the aura, it's the colours inside. And it's fascinating. Some have got brighter green, some are brighter purple, and so on, or lilac. It depends on where your greatest energy is, and that will probably come from where your interests, where your attention is drawn. So if you're a lover of trees and animals, you'll probably have a stronger green. If it's the spiritual, you'll have a stronger sort of lilac colour, and so on. And you may well be balanced and be sort of like a perfect sort of evenly balanced rainbow as well. There's no right or wrong to that. Different strengths in different areas and things. Psychic is a pink chakra. Yeah, that's sort of going sort of beyond the 7. Is it not? Just below the throat. Right. Thank you. Yeah. That's not one of the ones that's picked out in with the healing. It's just the 7. I think, isn't there 12 in total? Then there's supposed to be more levels. beyond the crown. So there's lots. Here's another one, crown. And what do kings and queens have? They wear a crown or a coronet, have a coronation. You've got the word core at the start of that. Ah, right. That's probably why I've not come across it before. It's only just come through. Oh yeah, Alison. Yeah, that I hate. Duh. A halo. I didn't get that at all. Completely missed that one. Oh right, 7 spikes on the Statue of Liberty. I've never actually thought of counting those. See, it's so easy to miss because yeah, I've seen the picture of the Statue of Liberty so many times, even on truth-seeking videos where it's featured and saying about it, and it's on a Starfort base and things, and never thought of counting. Thoughts on Pleiades? Do you mean the constellation or Pleiadians? I don't think they're bad. There may be a faction of them that are, but I get that they're. Well, the way I see this, there's us, and it's not just them, and there are other vested beings, representations of different things, all with vested interests, and there's a fine balance. And I think we're getting help from some good ones, and but they can't do it in an open way. It would be a full-scale war where nothing and nobody would win. They feel good. Although you've got that word play, are they just playing with us as well? This is the thing. Always got to keep questioning this. Yeah, they're getting mad at all this. I am human. It's difficult to. It's identifying the things that are triggering you. I would say go for the scrolling past. When you've identified what's triggering you, it's sort of the going. This is the going within again, and then think, hang on a minute, why am I getting so angry about this? Because then think about what the anger's doing to you as well. It's not sorted the problem out. It's just left you with a negative feeling, and it's that thing of not buying into the fear, and also it's the not reacting. It's trying to stay neutral. It's difficult with a lot of these things, but with this thing about unplugging as well, a lot of these things are put out to start instill a negative energy within each of us, whether it be anger or sorrow, because it's allowing these to then feed on that, because they're actually trying to cultivate. That's why we have these cultures. 7 heavens, yeah. I think there's 7 layers, as it were. All these ancient depictions of things. Some of them show the stars in like the first layer and the sun and the moon. But sizes of stars. Maybe they are not any further distant from each other, from us. Maybe it is the layers of whatever it is up there, and some are in one layer, so they appear bigger. Some are in another layer and appear tiny in comparison, or we can't see them without the use of a telescope. That's it. Yes, Mystic. That's really good advice. It's um, identifying those triggers, really. Oh, oh, bye, Rudy. If you got to go, having a job keeping up. Um, yeah. Oh, I think I'm getting tired as well. But yeah, that's sort of covered all of I sort of wanted to say, really. And it's sort of gone on a bit longer. And it was only supposed to be an hour. Oops, again. But yeah, hopefully that sort of opened up with, well, I think it has, with the word tar alone, how many times that's come out in all of this, that alone. Yeah, breathe and earth. Have you noticed how E and A within the senses, if you change the spelling, you feel, you taste has got C, SEA. Here is obviously HEAR. So yeah, somewhere along the line. And there's also ear, also the name for Enki, or the old name for Enki as well. It's contained in so, and didn't get a chance. Time flies in my kitchen. Yeah, it does. It's the shortening of days. Oh, the shortening of days. Now, what are we talking about? Days as in 24 hours? Or are we in a days? There's another one there. So the shortening of the days may be where it's describing the awakening, the veil. Maybe more people are going to see black key. That's interesting. Ink key. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Never thought of that either. This is awesome. See, this is wonderful. This sparking. This is something else I thought of earlier. Like with a petrol engine, you've got the spark plugs, and you turn the key. Ooh, there we go. We turn the key, which ignites, and then these spark plugs will spark in a certain order, and it will start the engine going. So that's almost like us as well. I think we're driving a snowball that's growing rapidly. We live in hope anyway. Wish this would stay like that's a nuisance. Where are we? Oh, there was something else. I can't think what it was now. It's gone. Niven. This is a thing that is common, particularly with Rh negatives. There's been a lot of discussion about affecting lights and electrical things generally, and this is our own sort of magnetic energy, it's getting stronger. Alison as well. It's said that each cell in our body generates 1.4 volts, and collectively, just one body will produce something like 7,000 billion volts. Well, there's nothing electrical that can even get close to that. Even the overhead pylons are not going to be anywhere near that, which implies that there is nothing that can actually harm us. If we can generate out that love energy, that benevolence, and push that out and build up your individual auras, so that you're in like a hamster ball, basically, in these physical bodies. And there's your torus field. We're replicating Earth. And I don't think anything will penetrate through that once we've grown it and strengthened it up. And yeah, that's what will protect us. So we won't come to harm. It will be like those films where you've got the hero or the heroine, and they're walking along unaffected, and there's explosions and fireballs going on all around them, and they're unaffected by it. And I really do feel that is how it's going to be. I mean, the biggest fear is death, but if that is only a doorway and you don't have a fear of death, then there's very little that can be used as a threat against you. It's lost its power because it then becomes an empty threat. Empty is a funny one as well. Empathy tie, I'm going to suggest to that. Yeah, balance is definitely the way. When things are in balance, it's all about weighing things up. One thing I will say is we must never stop questioning, because we can't rest on our laurels. Because if you look at what's been done with the laurels, it surrounds the earth on the United Nations flag. It's the head symbol of Caesar, of a Roman emperor as well. All roads lead to Rome again. And yeah, so that saying about resting on your laurels is another one I thought of today. The way I look at it is, well, it can only happen once. Hopefully it'll be like quick and it won't be in agony. But what will be will be. See what happens with that one. It's just the important bit is to protect the soul from these archons and things. Where each event in your life, if this is what I've done with it, if you see your life, I'm talking about the 3D here, the physical body. If you see events in your life as like chapters in a book, this is why you'll have friends come into your life and then go out, because they're like characters in this ongoing story. So you come to the end of a chapter, that could be an end of a relationship or something, and then you move on to a new chapter. And you want to get to that last page and see the outcome of it all. And if you see things as ongoing rather than, if it's something bad, seeing it as an isolated event, it will seem bad. But if you see it as an ongoing chapter, it straight away lessens how bad it feels. It's at the time the emotions will take over, and you'll not feel good about something, but often later on you'll think, now I can see why that happened. That now makes sense with hindsight. So looking back is equally important as looking forwards. It goes back to the thing about the angels having 4 faces. Well, if we're looking forward and we're looking back and we're also looking at each other, looking left and looking right. If we're all standing in a line, nobody's ahead of anybody else, we're all in this together, then we've got four faces. We're looking in four different ways, four angles. And those four angles would be 90 degrees. So we make a complete 360. We have all round vision that way. Yeah, that's another thing. The interaction with non-awake people can be very draining. It's going to be down to individual circumstances, as if there's any way you can sort of look at your daily routines and things, and if there's anything you can do to sort of lessen the negative aspects, I think it's worth. You've got to be an observer of yourself and think, right, what can I change? What can I change, as opposed to what can't I change? So if you're in a job and you've got to be somewhere within a certain number of hours, then you're within that system, and that bit you can't change. But there may be something else you can work around that, like when you go shopping, for example. That may, by simply adjusting something on that, that can change things dramatically. It's worth looking at. As far as I can, I've identified the best times to go shopping when it's quietest, when there's going to be no wasting time standing in queues, queuing up to get in the car park and get back out car park again. All these little things we can just keep fine tuning as we go. Oh, look, fine tuning, sound vibration again. Oh, thank you. Sandra, yeah, thank you. Yeah, the vowels are always interchangeable. It's incredible how that comes, because we're taught a certain way, and then my mother does words. You've got black and white squares, and that has all sorts of connotations, which are not so pleasant on that one as well. We don't want crosswords, we want kind words. It's a subconscious reinforcing all the time in so many different ways. It's incredible. Now, 20 to 3 in the morning. But it's been fun. I've really enjoyed this. I've gained a lot from this, from your comments and things. I've actually managed to sort of keep up with most of them. Yeah, it's identifying. This is the thing. Careful being the observer of yourself as well as within, so without. It's not just observing other people; it's observing ourselves. I suggested, like, I'm not going to say everybody should be having YouTube channels and making videos, because then I've talked for 2 hours now, and you imagine if you listen to everybody for 2 hours, then you're going to run out of hours to listen to these things. There's lots of YouTube channels and videos I want to catch up on, because they've got some really interesting things to say. And it's finding the time sometimes, plus get sent links and things, which I'm really grateful for. So it's trying to do everything all together as well. I haven't got time to work. Yeah, it's just trying to put. Yeah, so yeah, sorry, it's looking inwards at yourself, and I'll suggest this again. Go as if you're going to make a YouTube video, even if you haven't got a channel, and just record yourself and then play it back to yourself. You don't have to show it to anybody else, just do it for your own benefit and see how you come across. and it's to nobody till the alerts come through and people know that you're live. You are talking to yourself to start with, and then people come. It's wonderful. But I think it does. It'll help overcoming that fear barrier. If you can't talk to yourself, and again, it's about being happy with yourself. So I think that's quite a good exercise. I'd really recommend everybody to do. I mean, the first time I ever made a video in April of 2018, I wasn't happy with it. Re-recorded it, and I thought, this is ridiculous. I can just keep re-recording it because I'm not happy with it, and it's not getting out there. I'm not saying what I want to people, and it's defeating the objects because I'm too critical of myself then. So it's finding that balance with that as well, with it within yourself. Oh, you're in Missouri. I'd love to go back to the States again, but it's got to be warm. I don't like this cold winter time. It's not my favorite time of year at all, but it's a cycle we have to go through. Anyway, that is it. And Niven, Rudy, I think he went. Rue, if you're still here, I think hopefully take care. Have a wonderful day. Constant sort of pressing buttons. It's not going to do it again. It goes on some sort of lag. Come on. Oh, waited ages to get on to do this, and now it doesn't want to. Doesn't want to end. That's typical. Here we go. Right. This is it. Ta-ta for now. And